Let's now define the concept of slope, the slope of a line. So what is it? What is the slope? What does that mean? Well, the answer is that the slope is a ratio or a fraction that compares the vertical change, which is the difference in the y coordinates, to the horizontal change, which is the difference in the x coordinates, when you move from one point to another. So you have 2 points in the plane, and the slope is just a comparison expressed in the form of a ratio or a fraction that is going to compare the vertical change, the vertical movement, to the horizontal movement. So vertical displacement over horizontal displacement. And that's all that the slope is. And it may be thought of, the slope may be thought of as a measure of the steepness of the line, because in fact, from trigonometry, it is known that the slope of a line is directly related to the angle of inclination of the line. So the slope of a line is directly related to the angle of inclination, and once you get to trig, you will learn it, but the relationship is that the slope is just the tangent of the angle, okay? The angle of inclination. Anyway, in college algebra, the way we're going to compute the slope of a line is by using this formula that is really, really famous. Some people call it rise over run, which is change in y over change in x. That little triangle over there is a delta, the Greek letter delta. It means change. In math, the triangle, the delta means change. So change in the y's over change in the x, or rise over run. And it is going to be important when using this formula that you have to be consistent when using the formula. You have to be consistent with the order. So it is going to be important to keep in mind that keeping the order consistent is important when computing the formula above, when computing the slope. The letter that we usually use for slope is the M. Okay, some people say that is because of to climb in French starts with the letter M, monter, but nobody really knows why we use M. Is the tradition. M stands for the slope. Okay, the slope is going to be traditionally denoted by M. We compute it using this formula. So just to be consistent, if you start with y2 and then y1, then do x2 and then x1. If you start with y1 and then minus y2, then start with x1 minus x2. So which one you start with does not really matter. What matters is that you are consistent. So let's do some examples where we compute some slopes. Okay, so here's an example. It says, find the slope of the line that passes through the points A and B, and A and B are different for each of the different examples. So in little a has coordinates 3, 0, and B has coordinates -1, 4. So let us find the slope of the line that passes through A and B in part A. Okay, so the slope, which is denoted by M, is going to be, you subtract the y's. I like doing from right to left, it doesn't matter. So subtract the y's, that goes on the top, so 4 minus 0. And then if I did it this way, I need to be consistent and do the x's in the same order. So -1 minus 3. So 4 minus 0, subtract the y's, and then subtract the x. -1 minus 3. And then simplify, this is 4 over -4, which is -1. So the slope is -1. Okay, what you need to know about slope, another thing that you need to know about slopes is that negative slopes correspond with falling lines, and positive slopes correspond with rising lines. So this is going to be a line that falls, okay, because the m is negative. So negative slopes correspond with lines that fall when you move from left to right. Okay, now let us do the slope of the next one. Subtract the y's. So 6 minus negative 4 over, subtract the x's in the same order. So 2 minus negative 5. This is 10 over 7. So in this case, the slope is positive. That corresponds to a line that rises. Okay? Alright, now let's compute the slope of the next two. What is the slope of this one? The slope of this one is subtract the y's, negative 1 minus negative 1 over, subtract the x's, 3 minus negative 4. This is negative 1 plus 1, which is 0, over 7, which is 0. Okay, so in this case, the slope is 0, which is neither positive nor negative. So that means the line neither rises nor falls. So that means the line is perfectly, stably horizontal. Okay? So that is that case. Okay, and let's do the very last one. And this is going to be m equals, subtract the y's, so 5 minus negative 4 over 3 minus 3. This is 9 over 0, and of course you cannot divide by 0. This is undefined. Undefined. So the slope is undefined. And that would be the case for a vertical line. When the slope is undefined, that means the line is vertical. It's like we cannot associate a steepness to that line, to that kind of line, because it is infinitely steep. It's like perfectly vertical. Okay. So the last two, it is worth mentioning and pointing out. I put those in the little box here. So a horizontal line is going to have slope equal to 0. And horizontal lines have equations that are always of this form. Y equals a number, where b is a number, okay? Y equals a number. Y equals 5, y equals 10, y equals negative 20, whatever. Y equals a number. If you see the equation of a line that is like that, that means it's going to be a horizontal line. That means the y is the same all the time. So if y equals 5, that means the y is the same all the time. The y coordinates, all the y coordinates would be exactly the same. The x coordinates are different. So for example, let's say this is 1, so the coordinates of this point would be like 1, 5, and then let's say this is 4, that would be 4, 5. So you see, they are the same height, so the y is always the same. That line would have equation y equals 5. Alright? And then when you see a line that has equation x equals a number, that corresponds to a vertical line. And a vertical line has undefined slope, okay? And again, it is represented by equations of the form x equals a number.